Okay, so I just realized the main character's daughter, her name is Riley. In this movie, that's my daughter's name.
Does that mean I'm trapped in here with you, or you're trapped in here with me?
What's up, flick fans? M. Night Shyamalan, he's back. Let's talk about it.
It's a trap!
I gotta go to the bathroom.
Okay, Dad.
And so the premise of this M. Night Shyamalan movie, it's simple. A dad and his daughter, they're attending a pop culture concert. All of a sudden, that concert is being barricaded by police. Why? Because they're trapped inside with a serial killer, except the twist, that's not a twist because it was in the trailer, the serial killer is Josh Hartnett, or the character he's playing. Not Hartnett himself.
What do you mean by that?
Ariel Donahue plays Hartnett's character's daughter in this movie. There's also a father-daughter theme both inside and out here because M. Night Shyamalan's daughter is playing our Taylor Swift-esque character. That's the first pop star I thought of. Think of any pop star. That's kind of what they're going for here. And a large part of this movie, larger than anticipated, it's kind of like a concert movie. And I'm sitting back thinking, is that because it's M. Night Shyamalan's daughter and apparently she sings in real life? Or is that just kind of what they wanted to showcase in this movie? I was trying to figure out the reason why we got so many moments of her singing. Now, I don't want this review to come across as, oh, here's a guy who doesn't like M. Night Shyamalan. That's not the case. M. Night Shyamalan has directed some of my favorite movies. Unbreakable is genuinely one of my favorite superhero movies of all time. And so, don't get it twisted. The guy has done some magical work in the past. He's also directed some of my least favorite movies. The Last Airbender and After Earth, and, you know, the list goes on from there.
Crap, mega crap.
And so the question people are asking, where is Trap in the midst of this vast filmography? And for me, in terms of the Shyamalanisms, not necessarily quality level, it's somewhere in the middle, because the first half of this film, or maybe a little less than that, is exactly what the premise entails it to be. It is this guy and his daughter, they're stuck at a concert, but his secret is one that cannot be revealed, should not be revealed, and he has to make it out. How's he going to do that? Is he going to find his way behind the scenes? Is he going to go through the floor, through a tunnel? Or is he just going to have to make his way through all of the police officers and the FBI agents and the people that unintentionally help him throughout the entire film? There are so many characters that will answer questions and give clues, helpful hints to our main character, just by being a good pedestrian or thinking that this guy is a nice guy. When you're in the midst of a serial killer, most of the time, you probably shouldn't be answering questions that you could get fired for. But Cooper, Hartnett's character, he's very sly. He knows how to go about things, get answers to his questions, and he's a very well-organized person. He's always 3 to 5 steps ahead. And as ridiculous as some of these helpful hints are along the way, people that are straight up telling him things that they shouldn't be telling him, if you're smart, you're not going to give up this information. But the movie does highlight the way in which he goes about things, and the fact that he's always 2 to 3 steps ahead was really interesting for me. And again, this film in the beginning is a little ridiculous, especially when you're looking at the dialogue. But isn't that just the way M. Night Shyamalan goes about his dialogue and always has? Now, sometimes it goes so far overboard, I can't click with it. But to be honest with you, as silly as this is, I thought throughout the first half, I am just watching a movie that knows it's a movie and doesn't take the time to answer all your questions or even live in the same reality as we're living in. And so, suspension of disbelief is something that is always paired with M. Night Shyamalan. This is the ultimate example of, and we're just talking about the first half. We'll get into the second half. This is the ultimate example of, you must suspend that because they're not in the same reality as us. But the fact that the movie commits to that, you're still not going to be on board if you hate it, but it commits to it, so I can't fully dock it for that because Shyamalan's writing it as that. Does this sound like one big excuse because I was having fun? Maybe, but I was still having fun with the film.
We don't care.
Let me tell you something.
We don't care.
And yeah, some of the concert scenes, I was afraid they were going to go on a bit long, and they do to a degree, but they also, this movie is a funny way of highlighting the way that people act during concerts in 2024. The fact that they get their phones out and film the entire thing. They'll maybe look back on that 1 or 2 times in their life. They'll forever have that video file that no one's going to care about. When you post 100 stories and you're at a concert, let me tell you, No one's gonna care.
We don't care.
Let me tell you something.
We don't care.
I'll watch one or two and say, oh, that's cool, they're at that concert. And then I'm just going to skip to the next person. And I love the fact that Shyamalan is very subtly highlighting that. Just watch the concert. You don't have to film the whole Just watch the concert. Just enjoy. I don't know, man. He may not have even been going for that, but that's what I took away from it, so that's interesting. But then you've got Hartnett's character and Cooper just panicking throughout the first half of this movie because he knows that he's been caught. They just don't know who it is exactly. And so what's he going to do? What are his motivations? How is he going to go about getting out of this place? And how does he handle his daughter throughout this entire thing? And that, for me, as, outlandish as some of these things were that he does to, draw people's attention elsewhere, it was really entertaining. I loved this movie throughout the first half. And I've seen a couple of people say, well, it's just so ridiculous. Yes, but we don't get things like this anymore. And I was thoroughly enjoying myself. So Trap, the concept, worked really well. But there's more movie to talk about.
This is a load of barnacles.
When I say the second half goes off the rails, and I've seen plenty of people defending it, just, stay on board and understand what he's going for. I was on board throughout most of this movie. And then you get the rest of it. When I will just say this, it's not a spoiler. When we exit the premises and it turns into something else, and Shyamalan's daughter becomes a main character in this film, that's when I started to really hesitate. And the direction that he takes is something that I believe could have been simply fixed by making his daughter more of a prominent character than someone else that becomes more of a prominent character, because it makes sense to a degree, but it just didn't really work with what was so interesting about the first half of this movie, and it turns into something else in its entirety, even goes to a different genre. Ridiculous, over the top, really silly, and as someone who was feeling what Shyamalan was going for in the first half, he also tries to go for it in the second, but that's the perfect example of sometimes you vibe with the decision-making even though it's outlandish, and sometimes you don't. This movie has those two examples. I was vibing with the first half. I was not vibing with the second half in terms of character direction, decision-making, and the FBI agents and the police here, they just let people get away with the dumbest things. In the first half, yeah, but in the second half, something happens, and they just let it happen, and I'm like, dude, all of you should be fired. Every single one of you. It's interesting, the timing of this movie. Let's talk about Josh Hartnett, not what he turns into at the end, but the fact that he's just having a great time. And there were times where the dialogue gets in the way of believability, and it's just overly ridiculous at points. That's not Hartnett, though. Just the range of he and his character in this movie. I like the relationship with his daughter, and again, that father-daughter relationship serving prominence throughout this film. And with his character as well, because there's something going on with his mother here in his past that they don't quite elaborate on, but they give you just enough to kind of figure it out in your head. And I actually really enjoy the fact that Shyamalan didn't fully spell that out for us. It just allows us to wonder and put the puzzle pieces together. Say what you will about him and the way that he writes this movie, but that was really brilliant, I feel, the way that he didn't fully give you that and gave you just enough. Shyamalanisms, especially in the second half, which again, I just didn't fully click with. It's so over the top and overboard, and some people will say, well, man, that's what he was going for. And I actually do agree with that to a point, but does that make it good? Directors go for things all the time, and it doesn't really make it work, right? And so sometimes I feel like that's an excuse to defend a bad movie, because I could say that about anything, right? Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. I mean, they were just going for that, Doesn't make it good. That being said, what matters at the end of the day? It matters if you're having fun. And to be honest, as bad as some of these moments got, and as much as I was laughing, and the couple next to me, which were audibly describing how much they hated this experience, so that's hard to focus when you're getting something like that. Shut up, people. I laughed harder than I have most comedies this year. It was stupid. It was so stupid in the second half. I can't help it, man. I had some fun with it.
It's a trap!
Here are my questions. Did you like the cat and mouse chase in the beginning? Did you enjoy how cartoonish and overboard it got at the end? Or did you absolutely hate that? And I get it, man. It is ridiculous. And I'm not even going to say it's good in the second half. But it all depends on how you approach it and the fact that I was laughing. At least the first half is one of the better Shyamalan movies I've seen as of late, so I'm going to give you my score, but if you enjoyed this video, dropping that thumbs up would help this channel. And Trap had me hooked for a good portion of the film. The simple premise is executed in an off-putting way, yet Shyamalan handles it with care. And Josh Hartnett seems to be having the time of his life. As ridiculous as some of it was, it had my attention. The issues become more prominent when it decides to take us beyond what initially promised. This story goes off the rails and gets absolutely bonkers towards the end. And I mean bonkers, all right? I've seen crazier films, for sure, but just compared to what we got in the first half and then what we got... At least I didn't expect it, right? Oh boy, it took me for a ride. What can I say? Thanks for watching this video. Stay tuned. Should I review the director's cut of Rebel Moon? I don't know. Let me know below. See you soon.